up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be doing our first shots on the KelTec Sub2000. Now the KelTec Sub2000 is a very affordable and very controversial firearm that folds in half. It is a 9mm foldy boy that you can get for less than $400 that does that right there. It folds not like the new FPC to the side, but it folds up and down, and it was one of the original, if not the original, folding 9mm carbine. I'm not too sure. It actually broke a lot of ground. It is one of the first foldy guns, and it also is one of the first carbines to take the 9mm Glock mag, and I really think that was a great idea because cheap available mags, cheap available gun, works very well together. Now that design caused some problems, which we'll get to here in a little bit, but the gun itself runs a blowback operation, which should be relatively reliable. We'll have to see. KelTec has a mixed history, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. And we'll see how that goes. Now, not only does it fold, it takes Glock mags, but it has a 9mm 68-inch barrel, so it gets pretty decent velocity, good expansion on the hollow points. We have a polymer stock back here. We have some adjustable iron sights, and then we have a spot to put our red dot. And we're gonna put a Trijicon MRO on there today and an Omega 9K. We're gonna go out and have some fun, shoot it, and see how it does. Before we do that, I want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we have cool guns and ammo on the channel, and I really appreciate your support. If you want to support us, all you gotta do is go to the link in the description, sign up to Patreon. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter named Iowa. It's the YSS, it's a youth shelter. I'd appreciate you donating to those kids. And then a link to my Twitter, @HonestOutlaw_. And again, we've been trying to push people over there because we're not getting very much censorship, so I can do lots of cool stuff over there that I can't really do over here. Check it out. And finally, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, the Sonoran Desert Institute. The SDI sponsors a lot of our videos, and we really appreciate it. They're an online institute that teaches gunsmithing, drone technology, any field that you'd want to get into that involves firearms. They can teach you how to make a good living at. So we really appreciate them for sponsoring the video. And if you want to be a gunsmith, that's a great way to go. You can go there, get an education, you can have a fun job that pays a lot, have a pretty cool life. Well, that I didn't see coming. Not only is it run well suppressed, but it also somehow is magically zeroed, even though the optic is like 8 feet in the air. This just came off my Scar 17. Well, that's the worst trigger in history, but the gun runs. All right, let's insert our 25 round Glock magazine. I would say for the sub $400 price point and coming from KelTec, I did not expect this. I've had one of these before, as I mentioned, but it didn't run this well. So I got lucky so far. Now the accuracy is good. Rate of fire is not so good just because the trigger is very long and spongy, and hopefully that'll break in. A lot of stage in the trigger, kind of like a revolver. Got a couple from the hip. That's 50. All right, so let's try this garbage rod up close and see how it does. I would say that'd be more than good enough for home defense. What do you think?
I mean, it runs, which is more than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, it's not as quick as like the new Smith.
Right.
It's got a much longer trigger. But it's cheaper. Pretty good. The stock's very uncomfortable. The recoil and pulse is an awful lot. The charging handle is very heavy. The ergonomics kind of suck, but it's a 9mm PCC that folds in half and is apparently reliable for $400. So, I mean, it is what it is. Toyota Camry's not going to get you laid, but it'll get you to the grocery store.
Yes. course, last one I missed. Woo! Wow, there is some kick to this for sure. I'm definitely gonna have a bruise.
Alright, so now that we shot the KelTec Sub2000, I want to talk a little bit about the gun, what I think of it overall, give you kind of my first impressions. We're obviously going to do a full review of this, but it did a lot better than I expected it to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm shocked.
It's kind of insinuating in the beginning that I didn't think it was going to work very well, but blowback operation is blowback operation. I mean, the Uzi, the X-Star, the Freedom Ordnance, they all run it for a reason, right? If you want to run a cheap 9mm PCC and have it work, a simple blowback operation, basically a tube of death, works great. I mean, that's what it really is, essentially, is a tube of death. It runs a weighted bolt with a spring, and that's all it does. It just slinks back and forth. There's no gas system, and for most purposes that works extremely well. The only downside of that is the recoil. You have 9mm recoil that's more than a 5.56 because you don't have any gas system to bleed off, and you're just getting the full chunk of the weighted bolt. The stock's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. It feels like you're getting punched in the shoulder when you shoot it. It's got a lot more recoil than a standard 9mm because A, it's blowback as we talked about, but B, it's 4.5 pounds, and C, the ergonomics on the KelTec are terrible because it's $400. It's like a slightly more expensive folding high point is what you're looking at here. And you can see the stock has ridges because that's what you want on a stock. You definitely want a rubber butt pad. And we have a spot for a sling mount here, and then we have the attachment which attaches to the front sight when it folds. Charging handle in the rear there, and that is extremely stiff. It's very difficult to use, but if you've got some muscles, shouldn't be a problem. Magazine release here, which sort of looks like a crossbolt safety, which is convenient because the gun also has a crossbolt safety. And in the first shots, I guess I'm what you would call an expert. I wouldn't go that far, but I did confuse the magazine release for the safety because the safety is in a very interesting place that is super easy to hit with your firing hand if you have the world's most flexible thumbs. So I would suggest probably running the safety with my sport hand, I guess, or just not using it at all because it's kind of stupid. That being said, the magazine release is also an interesting design. The release worked well. The trigger guard foldy thing is kind of cool. However, along with the M1A, I never like fucking with the trigger guard too much because of course you inevitably have a person that didn't check the firearm and you push the trigger guard forward, pull the trigger, and the gun goes off. Now you don't have to worry about that too much because it is the heaviest trigger in the history of the world. The advertised weight of the gun is 4 pounds. The advertised weight of the trigger is 9.5 pounds. So they purposefully put a trigger that's double the weight of the firearm. For safety? I'm not sure. But this feels pretty on point, somewhere around 10-pound trigger pull, and it's very long and smushy as well, as you can see right here. Very long. Now, it's cool that it folds, but when it does fold, you are unable to have the optic. This is why I just took the optic back off to show you that if you want to run an optic, you have to run an offset mount that they make specifically for these guns because this has been a problem that people have been trying to deal with for 10 years and 20 years maybe. I'm not sure how long this gun's been out. Ever since Nothing Fancy, I guess. I mean, Nothing Fancy, the first person I ever saw review this. Like, it had been 15 years ago now. So they've been around for a while and they've been struggling with optics for a while. Now they have a rail on top and bottom, and not only is the rail hard to use because of that, but it's also made of plastic, and it's also put in with a bunch of screws here, which I'm a little concerned would lose zero even if you had a dedicated optic. Now we ran it suppressed, and it ran great even with subsonic ammo, which is freaking awesome, especially considering the price. It's kind of funny because my suppressor is like twice the price of the gun. Then if you add the optic, it's even laughable because the optic is also more expensive than the gun. But overall, it ran pretty great, and I would consider this for like a survival carbine. Certainly not a bad idea. And if you, honestly, as long as you can shoot a gun well and it's reliable, it works, right? Like, I can talk shit about the ergonomics all day long, but it's a $400 carbine that we shot 100 rounds through, and it worked great. And if it continues that trend through the 1,000 round review, let's be honest, everything is subjective but results. So if you can shoot it accurately, you can shoot it fairly quickly, and it's reliable, and you like it, buy it. I mean, it is what it is, right? It doesn't have to look good. It doesn't have to shoot super fast in order to be a defensive gun. It just has to put a couple shots on target relatively quickly, and you're good to go. So, do I recommend the Sub 2K? I'm unsure yet, but I will do a full review, and so far, I think it's pretty good. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support your local homeless shelters. Remember to recycle. I'll check you later.
You trying to get that punk in? Do you think that's a big ball just for you? Oh my god. Danger. Are you kidding? Oh my goodness. Are you a psycho or what? Bring that back. Oh my goodness. Danger.